Hi everyone, it is hour 18 of my 24 in 24 for Sam's, where I'm every hour on the hour. I'm either talking to a lovely guest, a co-host about a topic, about conversation that matters to all of us, or I'm doing a presentation, all to raise funds for Samaritans. It is an organization that I volunteer for. I want to raise visibility of what we do, so we are available 24/7, 365 days a year, to support callers in crisis. And maybe if we talk about the things that all of us struggle and normalize having those conversations, we can reduce the number of suicides that are out there. So what I'm doing here is for 24 hours, I'm just, creating a space for us to talk about the human aspects of life, of project delivery, of Salesforce, which is, what my community here is. And for this session, I have Beech, who is going to be talking about the non-tech human sides of project delivery.
Thank you very much. But yeah, so I've kind of moved into a role where getting involved a lot more with the project management and the business analyst side of things. And there's a lot more of this human side as a techie, always been a developer on the other side of the keyboard, the introvert. And there's a lot more now where you've got to interact with people and get people on side. So there's been three kind of survival techniques I've developed for being able to speak with fellow techies, getting them on side and trying to get delivery done. And I'd really love some scrutiny from a project management expert such as yourself.
Happy to chip in. Let's see what you've got.
Perfect. All right. Okay. So each of these, we're framing it with the kind of the beginnings. So as a project manager, you'll hear, this is what we're delivering. This is the end goal. This is what everyone's aligned with. And you'll have the kickoff meeting. Everyone's happy, joyful. You may then speak to some of the technical people behind the scenes and hear a different story. And I wanted to cover some of those themes by looking at it a different way. So these are conversations that we've had with the tech people on the team. So instead of looking at that end delivery, looking at it in terms of a road trip.
Mm-hmm.
So there's been a disconnect between the project manager and the team. So it might be from a team's perspective, they're looking for landmarks to begin with. So
Okay.
recognizable markers that they've reached somewhere. So it could be, look, I can't even think about this end delivery because I can't spit out PDFs. I've never done PDFs before. I've been asked to do it. Or I've never written an API specification before in this new language. No clue how to do it. Or I don't even know if these automations are going to run. So it's kind of figuring out these recognizable landmarks, or what's the next landmark that a techie can hit that a project manager generally doesn't have visibility of these from what's the concern from the technical person's mindset from where they need to hit to know that they're on the way to that destination.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And have you experienced this kind of thing on a project where there's been a disconnect between the two? Or
So what I'm really liking is a different way of looking at things. So my all my experience has been from the consulting point of view, where we are generally, broadly, I have a team of people who know what they're doing, and if they don't know, they're very good at spinning up proof of concept so that they can make some educated guess as to what's going to be required, what we have to build, what we don't know, what we know we don't know.
that's the one, yeah.
And and so we scope and we spec in a very there's methodology in doing things. But as you're talking, and we've met before, we had dinner, and and I got to know you a lot more. So you are talking from an in-house point of view, right? Where you've got a project manager who has maybe had some meetings with stakeholders and Salesforce AE, who said, Salesforce can do all these wonderful things, and the eyes kind of bright out and go, yes, we let's
We'll
do
buy them all. Yeah.
let's do all of this, and I'm sure my tech team can figure it out as we go along. So I can totally see how it works. How the story that you're going down. I can totally see how it could pan out that way. What I'm trying to say is, from a consulting point of view, it's not usually this way because we will spec it out first. And
I've had it with
oh,
consultants as well on projects, naming no names on here, where
okay.
that they've raised chief concerns of we don't know how we're going to handle this, and it's for me it's a matter of kind of getting that articulated to the project management team so they can build that in. There's often
Mm,
quite a lot of hesitance, that bravado, that ego, that I can solve any problem. I can read it, I can look at it, but it's just kind of acknowledging that we need to add that in as a point. And the project manager's not a magician; they don't know this if you don't tell them.
mm. So you say when you say hesitation and ego from the project management point of
More from the developer side,
the tech
let's say.
team.
So
Okay.
I'm probably using the wrong word here, but it's that I can tackle any challenge,
Yeah.
read online, work it through, got competency or things
Mm-hmm.
like that. But it's a matter of just calling it out to the project
Mm,
manager that
mm-hmm.
I,
Okay.
and you end up sometimes that if there's this next hurdle, you need to hit this first one before you can even imagine that
Yeah.
next one.
Okay.
So if you're doing things like if, doing agile poker, figuring out
Yeah.
story
Yeah.
points,
Yeah.
sometimes you can't think clearly about the next set of requirements, story points,
Yeah.
until you've done your
Yeah.
first.
Yeah.
And if
Agree.
you've got a big landmark you need to hit, if you are scared about it, you'll
Yeah.
overestimate everything afterwards. Or if you're confident about it, you underestimate everything afterwards. You don't get that clarity until you've
Mm.
got past that immediate hurdle.
Oh, there's so many threads here, Beach. It's like far more than half an hour. You're talking?
Sorry. Yeah, we'll
No,
keep this light then.
no, no. It's not that. I just want to dig in so much. There's so much there. I think we need to schedule like a 2 hour thing at some point. But just
Sure.
very briefly on what you were saying, you if you encounter that, you should kind of chunkify that down and POC it, and not. I know where you're coming from, because the project managers, especially in house, they want to promise the end result, and you tech guys just make it all happen, but it doesn't all work that way. As you say, you need to do like first sprint, first milestone, first POC before you figure out what the next steps are.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And
no,
it's just a
totally.
matter of keep that communication going.
Yes, sorry, carry on.
Then the next one. So keeping with the road trip theme here, we've got accommodation. So there's a great thing. When you design, you can work very quickly. You can iterate. It's a
Hmm.
lot better
Hmm.
to do the design before you're coding for a lot of
Hmm.
things.
Hmm.
Sometimes not all, but for a lot of things. Um, and one of the big things discovered is trying to build in these bits of rest. So if you've got to do a design, you can design it quickly or you can design it slowly. And what we found is sleeping on a problem. How your brain absorbs and memorizes and processes data you've got through the day overnight. So if you've got a complex requirement, I like to load people up the day before and force them essentially to not do the design until the following day. That might be weighing them up, giving them extra work towards the end of the day, that kind of thing, to kind of push it into the next day to build in that design. And it's that no screen time, that being asleep or being away from the screen. And it's kind of planning in when these things are going to happen as well. So you know in advance when they're going to be ending their work stream, to make sure you've got all the information ready to prep them. Right, you finish that task and you're aiming for like early afternoon, maybe midday,
Hmm.
maybe late morning. You're then loading them up with information in the afternoon. You're then getting them to do the design the next day. So it's that kind of process to build in these rest periods and making the best use of their brains so they come back with a fresh design.
Hmm.
Because if it's
Hmm.
Monday morning, they get requirements and they're doing the design in the Monday afternoon, You're now on Thursday, Friday, the design's still being iterated. Whereas you can land it on, say, a Monday afternoon
Mm,
with all the detail. They come back and they nail it on the Tuesday morning.
I love that. Love that. Okay.
We then have experiences. So developers, we love to be excited. We love to trying something new. And it's a matter of how you can bring in these lovely experiences. So it might be introducing new tools, even a slight thing like a new font or a new theme, just to keep it slightly fresh on a project. We all love a good bit of automation, a DevOps pipeline. So it's a matter of just adding one more notch to your DevOps pipeline. Just that tiny little bit of automation is enough to kind of make everyone feel happy as they're working through it.
Yeah,
And on our last project, we had a Wings Wednesday, just as a group experience to go out each week.
I like it.
And then entertainment. So I'm a big fan of mini challenges. So it might be, oh, a certain developer leans heavily on a certain bit of tooling, like they might use a debugger a lot, or they might only use unit tests and never try something out in the interface, or whatever their weakness is on here. It's a matter of how can, or the bit that they don't lean on, how can you build a mini challenge in
Mm,
to
mm,
push them?
mm,
But keep it nice, keep it jovial. It's a matter of, right, I bet you can't do this next module without, or it's just setting that little bit, or even test data theming. So you've got the Scrooge McDucks, or everyone's going to be a gladiator on this test system.
mhm, mhm.
It just means when people are writing unit tests or entering test data or trying it through, it's that little bit of creativity to keep people going, and that bit of showing off.
Yeah.
And got a colleague who calls things such cool thing, um, which is when you discover something and you want to share it, that you have to share it with the rest of the team.
Yeah.
And it's your kind of responsibility that if it's just been shared with you, that you bring in the rest of the team and get it shown with a lot more people. So if someone nervously shows you, it's like no, 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 no. The whole team's got to see this. Is such a cool thing.
I like all this. It sounds like working in your team is super fun.
It can be. It can be super challenging, which is part of the reason that you've got to have, a group theme together. I mean,
I-
yeah, been there for 19 years. It's a matter of we
Mm,
end up with people that love the culture.
mm, mm. I can see why. I can see why you're putting in a lot of effort to just dig into this and to think outside the box. I think, like for me, coming from a consulting background, we just don't have time for all these things. We're in there to put in a project and to leave you with, a shiny new system after, figuring out what you want. And then here you go. Now you go and extend it and support it and maintain it, So, like, from our point of view, it's like quite business like. But I kind of like all of this. I think it would make um, implementation so much more fun.
Well, it's a matter of getting on with the team. With so DevOps pipeline we introduced for again a consultant working on the project, but it was
Hmm.
a matter of just adding that bit. And now that they're more keen, they're working on it faster. They've actually introduced parts with it. We had our consultants in on so the design part as well, because we're giving technical details about our implementation, and we don't want them to go off and create a design because that drags. We've seen that before.
Hmm.
So we introduce this even with the partners we're working with, because it you end up shaving time rather than increasing it on projects.
Mm, mm. I'm just noticing Ellie's message. I can see it on LinkedIn, but I can't see it on Restream. And she said that her sandbox is full of spur players. When I was doing testing, all my data was Marvel characters. So we all have our favorite test data themes. Sorry.
Oh, I love that. And yeah, pain to you, Ellie, with that red shirt today. But yes. Cool. Um, yeah, wearing an opposition's football shirt just because it has to be red today. Cool. Right. So we've got the question from a project manager. The when will it be ready?
Are we there yet?
Oh, exactly. The when we're there yet. So I love the analogy of a butterfly for getting both parties on side for a deliverable.
Mm-hmm.
So, from a developer's perspective, you're only looking at the caterpillar part, the creating, the
Yeah.
bits where you're burning hours, you're creating it on here. And it's a matter of trying to pull back and go from a project management view, you're only doing one third of that deliverable. So if you've suddenly taken 70% of the time, when I'm expecting you
Mm-hmm.
to take 30% of the time for this deliverable, I'm worried. And it's a matter of trying to explain that, hey, you've got the caterpillar stage, you're burning resources, you're spending time, this is where scope creep happens and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to stay in that period for too long. We don't want you to grow too big. Um, and you'll end up burning too many resources in this stage. Then we've got the kind of testing stage, the UAT, the SIT, the things
Yep.
like that, which is the chrysalis stage where we only want change to happen within. So we don't want external influences like scope increase or anything like that. So it's a matter of when you're in caterpillar stage, you are subject to scope creep. You get to chrysalis stage, no scope creep. That's locked off. The outside world can't affect it. That's gone into testing. Away you go. You may have another unit work come back round, but you reach that point, it's great. It's locked off. It's no longer your responsibility for the test bits.
Mm-hmm.
You can get through it. Um, but it's also recognizing it's a closed system. You're
Mm-hmm.
not that if it stays there, it's entombed. That you're not dealing with the rest of the project. That you have to get out of there. Um, and then obviously butterfly stage, everything's nice, light. You want to keep it small. You want to get through. So it's a matter of trying to explain that if you can get to delivery of any of your parts through these stages, your project manager is going to be happy because they're seeing deliverables happening, and you want to keep it as small as possible. So you've burnt as few resources in terms of hours come through, and it's gone through that chrysalis stage as fast as possible. But it's that whole mindset shift that 100% of the work is not coding. That's only a third of the work. And from a project manager point of view, you've got to remember you're only a third. You can't take up 70% plus of the time to achieve it.
Let me share you my thoughts on this in terms of change and scope creep. Um, Trying to think of it from an internal delivery point of view. So when we're delivering a consulting project, it's very easy for the boundaries because it's budget, right? So whenever you add scope creep, I'm happy with it because I'm just going to bill you more days, right? But as a responsible project manager, it's not what I do. We need to make sure that things are managed properly for risk exposure, and so I'd like to think about when we talk about scope. There's the iron triangle of resources, time, and budget, things like that. So every time you add scope, it's going to add more cost, right? So when you say things like, oh, the build is only a third, but you used up 70% of the budget and the resources and maybe the timeline as well. So in my head, it doesn't quite work that way. If I was a PM in an internal kind of project, I would look at it as a holistic thing, because if you add scope here, your UAT needs to kind of grow as well, because you're adding scope and you need to test all the different in terms of regression testing and the systems integration testing. So it kind of needs to go down that path. And for UAT, I'm not as strict to say that it's a closed system, because sometimes we miss requirements that's absolutely critical to the go live. Um, the only thing that I'm strict about is writing great specs so that it's very easy to say, is this a change or is this a defect? If it's a defect, absolutely, you got to fix it. But if it's a change, then it is a prioritization call from the project steering team and program steering team, to say, okay, this calculator that, this tax calculator, or this commission kind of like engine we miss it out, but it has to be there on go live. What do we do? Do we kind of delay the project, absorb the scope, and make sure that it's in, or do we call it a phase two and just release what? So, from a consulting point of view, that's kind of how we manage things. Otherwise, I think I would be
And absolutely, even outside the consulting, that's absolutely the PM view of it. 100% that, you put these in, you've got your steerco, you've got your change
mhm,
requests. Absolutely. This is more from the view of developer. It's a matter
yeah.
of understanding there's a bigger world outside of development, but you're absolutely right from the project management point of view. That makes perfect sense.
Okay.
So I think I need to work on this to get this aligned between the two, because
Yeah.
this is one very much one view. That's great feedback. Thank you, Bay. Cool. And then we've got the last one, piece de resistance, that I really need you to stay focused a bit. The bit where the developers are screaming about tech debt, about problems
Hmm.
existing, production issues. We really need observability. We really need logs. Um, we're getting alerts constantly through. We can't focus. That kind of feedback,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and it tends to be a matter of how do we because you've only got the budget for the new project. You don't.
Yeah.
You've got a little bit of maintenance, but budget, but you've only got the project new budget. So, how do you use that new budget, that new project, to fix some of the tech debt as you go in a way that that the project managers on side with?
Oh, I would flip it totally around, actually, in that
Cool.
I think it's the PM's job to actually be asking for budget. So again, if I put my if I was working for an in-house organization, I would think that that's my job. It's not the other way around. So I would lean on the architect to say, okay, right, we need to deliver shiny new thing, agent force or whatever that might be. What do what's the scope of work and therefore the cost required? Do we need to hire new people, new licenses, new app to to get it there? What does this look like? And so you've got your capital expenditure, and then you've got your
Yeah.
operational expenditure. So I would get, I would need the architect to help me out with the estimation of what is going to be required to build it out. Usually, I find that those are the functional stuff, and not all architects are great with the non-functional stuff, or they don't have the eye on it. At least not on some of the projects that I do. So I scope out the other stuff, like how many orgs do you have, and therefore how many deployments do you need to do. So I need to factor those in as well. How much testing, how much documentation. Anyway, so scoping of that, including the maintenance, but also tech debt in my head would be a completely different budget, and it'd be case forward as to why we need to fix tech debt or at least pay it down. So we have all these refactoring to do. You can't do them all. We only have a small team, and how are we going to do that? Maybe we need to hire somebody else. And ideally, I know paying down tech debt is the most boring and the most yucky thing to focus. I want to focus on agent force, not this refactoring stuff that we're not going to see the benefits. But it is important because, as in life, if we borrow a huge amount of money from the bank, we don't pay back. Things are going to go very bad for us. And so I think it's the PM's job to be doing the business case, to be getting the budget, to be doing all these things, so that the tech team doesn't have to do that. So it feels like you got it flipped around. That
I love that approach. Absolutely. I've just not had much experience of it at all, I'm afraid, on here. That it'll normally be. So let's take it a case that we're adopting Agent Force, let's say.
mhm,
We're building out Agent Force here. Great. We might not have descriptions on fields or flows that are
mhm,
required.
mhm,
We
mhm,
might have some a lot of things in Apex that should be in flows to be
Mm-hmm.
exposed.
Mm-hmm.
We may not have our actual business processes well
Mm-hmm.
documented for it to run
Okay.
on, that kind of thing.
Yep.
So it's a matter of those are the bits that we're going, we really need to get these bits defined. But you may have the urgent thing of we just need to get Agent Force up and running. We've got a short deadline. We need to get this up in a very short amount of time.
So
And it's most,
I would ask, what is the compelling reasons for that, right? Before we embark on anything, the foundation needs to be fixed. So cleaner data. I know we'll never get like super clean data, but cleaner data, because otherwise it's garbage in, garbage out. We need to get stuff in a place where you can trust the info. That's, you ask the agent a question, the things that it feedback needs to be correct, right? So data needs to be sorted out. Um, a documentation, like names on fields and descriptions and all of that needs to be fixed. Flows needs to be tidied up, and business processes need to be identified. So one of my beef, sorry, I'm on my
no,
so
no, no, go for it. This is the whole point.
TDX, I went and, oh, so beautiful. Look at how Agent Force is working for Air India and all these sort of things. But behind the scenes, they had to do a huge amount of work before you get to that point, which they don't talk about. They just don't talk about it, because the stuff that gets them ready is the boring thing. It's the data cleansing. It's it's the refactoring. It's the clearing up of your flows, your business processes, and internal tech debt before you can see all the shiny things. So again, if the company says we want Agent Force, as you correctly pointed out, we have all these things we need to do first before we need to do that. So, Mr. Horn, help me in estimating how much you think we got to do, right? How much data do we have? Who's going to do the cleaning? Are we going to try and get AI to help us? What does that look like? How much is that going to cost? How much is it going to cost to train someone? How long is it going to take? So estimate each piece of work to get it AI ready before we look at scoping out use cases and building out the agent force as an implementation.
The challenge I'll get back from that is normally a matter of, wow, that's a lot. I've just spoken to this other consultancy firm who say they can get a smaller subset of it up in this short space of time, basically by ring fencing that one part of the area out. And inevitably, they'll probably get the work. And then it's working with them to how can we shuffle bits in to fix as much of the tech debt along the way with that new project. As you describe it, that's a way healthier way of doing things. I don't necessarily always have experience of that.
Yeah. So I also get it. People are people, and there is no getting around me grabbing that donut even though I'm on a diet and etc. Right? So people will do what they are going to do. All we can do as stewards of the systems and the platform that we are in charge of is try to manage that. And as a PM, I'm always thinking, it is not it is my responsibility to share all the risks of all the decisions that you are going to make. We can tell the client, you need to clean your data before you go live. You can choose not to follow what I say, but I can tell you when you go live, all your data is going to be rubbish. Your user adoption is going to be low because they won't trust the data. And I have gone through enough of these situations to tell you that that's going to be the case. And it's up to you to decide yes or no. So, in your situation, as you're saying, it is likely, consultants, we're very good at putting forward a compelling business case why you should hire me to do this little POC for you, because then you can see that it works, and then we'll slowly work on fixing the rest of your system. That's also a viable approach, but it is um, less tidy than something that has been thoughtfully planned out, scoped out, and worked on from basic principles. This,
Absolutely, 100% agreeing with you on that.
yeah.
Yeah, this slide was more from being in that second approach and just how to onboard the project manager with it. But I quite like your
Mm,
more forthright rebuttal approach, that a matter of do things properly, scope it out, and then it's a cleaner project, as you say. You get a much better divide, that you're not dealing with the sins of the past in order to progress.
mm.
That's tidied, you're now moving on to the next. You're not carrying it, that mental overload, that cognitive balance.
I also have a feeling that we are operating different definitions of project managers here, or at least your definitions of PMs is quite different from what I feel that our job should be. And that's probably worth another conversation another day. But this was very useful to me to see how it works from within an organization and how you are pushing projects forward. Um, so thank you for sharing that, because I learned a lot from in a different sense, and also for supporting this initiative from the beginning, like putting comments and reposting and all of that. So I appreciate you very much on that, Beach.
I think the whole community appreciates you and what you're doing over these 24 hours. I mean, this will be your 18th hour, and you're doing very, very well with it, especially with some of the harder subjects so far.
um I'm hoping that it adds value to whoever who's listening. So before I let you go, very quickly, this is the QR code for anyone to donate. I haven't checked, but I've been told I'm 800 short of my targets. I just need one person to donate 800 pounds, and I've hit my target already. But hopefully, for anyone, oh, hold on, we got people in the chat which I didn't see. Oh yes, so that's Ellie's message coming through like much later. Um, I hope that it's been useful for anyone who's watching. And Beach, we need to have a conversation about your project managers, man.
We'll,
Got
we'll
some
let you rest first, though. You
questions.
carry on, Pay. Perfect.
Okay, thank you so much, and I will see you at some event soon. Yeah.
Perfect. Make